Welcome to the season of self-love, your daily dose of inspiration and encouragement. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery. Are you ready to elevate your mindset and embrace the power of self-love? Well, have you come to the right place? Each day we'll dive into topics that will empower and inspire you on your journey towards self-discovery and personal growth. Whether you're looking to cultivate healthy relationships, boost your confidence, or find balance in your life, this podcast is here to support your every step on the way. We believe that self-love is the foundation of living a fulfilled and joyful life. And together we explore practical tips, insightful interviews, and transformative stories that will leave you feeling inspired and motivated. So join me Monday through Friday as we embark on this daily adventure of self-love. Tune in to the Season of Self-Love podcast to start your day on a positive note and discover the limitless potential within yourself. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Monday, November 13, 2023, or whatever time you are listening to us here on the Season of Self-Love. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I welcome you back. If you have been with us for a while, you know that we've been on a heartfelt journey, exploring the depth of self-love and all its transformative glories. But today we're venturing into a realm of bravery. And we're going to call the topic today is courageous love, embracing fear and stepping into your power. It's about finding the strength to face the unknown and love ourselves fiercely through it all. So take my hand and let's take a deep breath together and step into this space of vulnerability and power. All right, so as I am sipping on my yogi tea, and you know what I'm getting ready to do, in my self-love, Season of Self-Love mug, yes. We're going to start off with understanding the power of courage. Courage, my sexy people, isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. It's a heartbeat of a personal growth and a testament of self-love. Facing our fears is like stepping into a forge, and it's hot, and it's uncomfortable, but it's where we are shaped and where we are strengthened. And you know, when so I have this message that always comes to me all the time, and I'm going to share it with you. And this message, this message card says to me, is my goals are more important than my fears. And I remember one week, I literally was getting this message almost every day. Every day. And I was like, why is this message keep coming to me? You know, because I thought that, I was stepping out, beyond my fear, that I was being courageous by sharing my story, by creating this different podcast, by creating this, by telling my story. But then what I realized in the process of that is that I was still holding something back. I was still holding something back. And that word fear, it is that, and we give it so much power. We give it so much power. But it's like, what is fear? What is it? I mean, can you hold fear in your hand? Is it an object or is it an illusion? Is it, once again, our mind playing tricks on us, or feeding into that limited self-belief? So I'm gonna read a passage to you all. Hold on a second. Okay, so this is what this says. It said, fear attracts the very thing we are afraid of, yet many of us are still trapped in it. Now listen to what I'm saying again. Fear attracts the very thing we are afraid of, and yet many of us still get trapped in it. And y'all like, what is that? Okay, you said that, but what does that mean? And I'm getting ready to mix it up a little bit because I'm going to tell you what it also can do as well. It can manifest. And even though a lot of times we speak of manifestation in a positive way, we could also manifest things of negativity. So I'm going to tell you this story about this beautiful woman who mother had passed away. And I don't want to say she passed away from dementia, but when she passed away, she did have dementia. And her daughter, who I'm speaking, a beautiful young lady, she used to write in her journal about praying away that she hoped that her or her daughters would never get dementia. And she even wrote a letter to one of her daughters, her oldest daughter, to say if she was ever to be in that state where she wasn't to remember her. But the thing is, she sat in that mindset for years. For years. The fear in her manifested the dementia. She was so afraid of having that. She thought about that every day. And now she has dementia. So now this go back to that sentence that I just said. Fear attracts the very thing we are afraid of. Yet many of us still get trapped in it. So that was a prime example of how we allow fear to be so powerful. And you're like, okay, Naomi, so what are you saying? Is fear really a thing? And then you ask yourself, okay, what am I afraid of? Are you afraid of the unknown? Are you afraid that someone's going to get hurt? Are you afraid you'll lose something? Are you afraid someone will look at you with a different light? Like, what is this fear? And I remember getting this message over and over again. I said, that was like, okay, so what is this fear? What does this fear look like to me? Are you afraid to be successful? And if you are, why are you afraid to be successful? So do me this favor. I don't know if you're driving in your car. I don't know if you're sitting at your desk or whatever. I want you to write down, what is your biggest fear? And then give me the meaning of that fear. Meaning, why do you fear it? And what do you think will happen? So I'm gonna keep going with this message in here. Then it says, fear keeps us away from seeing what is on the other side of it. So even though fear is invisible, it feels very real to many of us. So now you have to ask yourself, how often do we let fear stop us from doing something that will benefit us or we need to do? Ain't that something? So I remember reading this over and over. Just that little section I was reading over and over again. So I'm going to read the little section that I'm talking about. How often do we let fear stop us from doing something that will benefit us or we need to do? Listen, that will benefit us, that we need to do. So how many times we allow fear to stop us for doing things that are best for us? So for example, and I'm gonna say success, because ultimately we want to be successful in everything that we do. We want to be successful in our love. We want to be successful in our relationships. We want to be successful in our career. And a lot of times we allow fear to stop that. So for me, my personal life is beautiful, it's great. My family is great. But what I struggle with the most is successful in what it looks like for me. That used to be my struggle. And the fear for that, what does that fear look like for me? Part of that fear looks like that, maybe if I make this much money, maybe I will attract other entities that's not supposed to be. Crazy, huh? But you understand what I'm saying? Where that stuff becomes limited in your beliefs. So that goes back to what we spoke about last week. And remember what I said, that we're going to start, it's going to be a lot of things that's going to be repetitive in what I speak every day. It's because they all work hand in hand. So what we have to do is find that courage. In my ebook, Unlocking Your Door to Success, I speak about fear. And can I be very honest? That entire ebook was actually based from fear. It was. When I went to writing the book, it was a vision of me standing at the door, and I think I said it last week, about holding those keys to success in your hand and wondering why you are unable to unlock the door with the key that you have in your hand. And a part of that is fear. So in that ebook, I speak a lot about it. I even tell stories on how I was able to get through that, releasing that fear. But also it talks about embracing the fear and using it as a catalyst for growth. You know, sometimes fear can be a prison, or it can also be a teacher. Man, it's often like a guardian for our self-limited beliefs, like standing between us and our potential. But what happens is when we embrace fear, not as an enemy, but as a catalyst for our growth, suddenly all the walls that we built around ourselves, they become doors and waiting to be opened. So even within that ebook, I even have, kind of strategies that I offer in the book. So when this right here, not only do I have the unlock the success, and when I say like I sit in it, I sit in it. I sit in my work. I sit in my healing. And I sit in it on what I share with you all. Because this healing process, this growing process, this self-love process is amazing, an amazing journey and an amazing experience. But this is when you see the mud, you see the shit. But this gives you an opportunity to clean all of that. To clean all of that. I've created a book, Good Morning, My Sexy People, with 90 days to kick off your self-love. And in that book, that book is not only a part of my diary, my journal that I write as well, but also it gives you an opportunity yourself to go through the pages and read and write, also to see where you at. And I'm telling you this because I did it myself. I'll fast forward 3 months later, I'll come back and I will look at what I wrote and actually see how far I've grown. But I had to take the courage to actually sit down and write. And actually sit down and see myself for who I was that day. And that's where using that fear as a catalyst for your growth. Having the courage to look at yourself in the mirror. Okay, real quick, I'm going to share a few strategies that you can refrain from fear. And it's just so you can see, so you'll be able to see the compass pointing towards the areas where you can grow the most. All right, so one of them that I want to, is to recognize the fear as a signal. You know, a lot of times we look at fear as often as a negative emotion. So something to avoid or suppress. However, reframing fear can be a powerful way to harness its energy and use it as a compass for your personal growth. Recognize your fear. Recognize it as a signal. Instead of viewing fear as a roadblock, consider it as a signal that you are stepping out of your comfort zone. Embrace the discomfort. Understand that growth rarely happens when you are within your comfort zone. Embracing that discomfort and pushing yourself beyond your boundaries can lead to personal transformation. Now, I know you said, well, we talked about boundaries the other day, Nyomi, and you said don't listen. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, y'all heard, if you hadn't listened to the boundaries one, go back to it. As many times we do push ourselves beyond our boundaries because we're trying to do something, or we're trying to search for validation for something and not paying attention to our body. And I did that. That's not what I'm talking about. So I want to make sure y'all don't get that confused. And here's one. Oh my goodness. Reframe failure as learning. Fear of failure can hold us back from trying new things. Instead of viewing a failure as a negative outcome, reframe it as a valuable learning experience. So you know that saying that said it happens for you, not to you? That's it right there. For me, I look at everything now that is a learning experience. So I have a few more things that I want to share with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to finish off this discussion that we're having today. All right. It's your girl, The Goddess, here on the Season of Self-Love. We will be right back. Hey, it's your girl, The Goddess, Nyomi Banks, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night to Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, where we talk about everything from love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more. We're bridging the gap between them all, and we even talk about spiritual uplifting. You need to stop by Neon.com, Mike, as well as the BTG crew. We have some amazing guests that come through. You never know. Just make sure you tune in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to AskNyomi.com and tell them Nyomi sent you. Have you ever felt like you're standing at the door to success, key in the hand, but something's holding you back? Well, you're not alone. My new ebook, Unlocking Your Door to Success, is your guide to healing and overcoming those internal struggles. If you want to learn more and step into your success, go to stand.store/elevate-me-self-discovery. Get your free ebook for a limited time. Hey, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast, and I am your host, Nyomi Banks. And as I said, we're going to finish this off because I got a few more things to share with you all on our topic about courageous love, embracing fear, and stepping into your power. And in the first session of it, we talked about understanding the power of courage and embracing the fear as a catalyst for your growth. Now we're going to talk about cultivating courageous love in a relationship. Courage in a relationship is about showing up authentically and about being seen in all of your imperfect glory. The fear of vulnerability can be paralyzing, can it? Right? It whispers tales of rejection and pain. But here's the truth. Without vulnerability, there can be no real love. There could be no real love. So real quick, I'm going to share with you a few tips on how you can practice courageous love, or how you can communicate openly with others, or how to set your boundaries and honor both you and that loved one. All right, first, be vulnerable. Cultivate your own openness and vulnerability in your relationship. Share your feelings, your fears, and your desires with your loved ones, and allowing a deeper connection. Sometimes we feel like people should know what we're feeling, and sometimes they don't. The biggest thing is even with this self-love, the season of self-love, is showing someone how to love you, and that's about knowing how to love yourself. Show empathy. Practice putting yourself in others' shoes and understanding their perception. Empathy can help create compassionate and a loving environment. And express your appreciation. Regularly express your gratitude, appreciation for the people that you love. Small gesture and kindness of affection can strengthen your bond with them. Just a simple, I appreciate you, or thank you. This is something that I do just to my fans out there. A lot of people, I don't know them, but I do appreciate them taking the time to share a space with me, whether it is on my podcast, whether it's on my social media platforms. But I thank them for coming over and following me and showing me, just showing me love through their comments, just period. And I do appreciate them as well as my family. Another one is just communicating openly, being an active listener. Pay attention to what others are saying without interpretation. When you're sitting there and you having a discussion with somebody, and you in your mind, you can't hear them because you're trying to answer the question before the question is even asked, excuse me. So in that, be an active listener in that. Engage in active listening by paraphrasing and asking clarifying questions to ensure that you understand them correctly. I am so big on that. And even when I'm explaining to someone, I will ask them, what did you hear me say? So we can make sure that, that what I said, that you actually receive what I said, as well as what you said, that I actually receive what you said. And be clear and specific. Be clear on your communication, your thoughts, and your needs. Avoid vague and ambiguous language, as it can lead to misunderstandings. And setting boundaries. Know your limits. Know your limits. Understand your emotional, physical, and your mental boundaries. Identify what they are. Identify what is acceptable. Identify what you want in your relationships or not. And communicate them. And you can communicate them in a very respectful way. And enforce them. When your boundaries are crossed, be assertive. Let them know. And always remember, it is best to prioritize your well-being. And always practice self-care. Always practice self-care. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about real fast is overcoming fear and stepping into your power. Stepping into your fear is a journey, not a leap. It's about building self-confidence and self-compassion one step at a time. And I talk about this all the time. It's taking it one day by day. I have a few tips for you real quick that will help you, will help you overcome the fear and stand in your power. That can truly be transformative to your journey. All right, so here's a few for you. Identify your fear. Take time to reflect on what specific fears are holding you back and get clear of what scares you and why. So remember, in the beginning of the show, I said, what is that fear? What does your fear look like? What's the meaning of your fear? Number 2, challenge your fears. Once you identified your fears, work on challenging them. Ask yourself if they are rational or if they're based off on past experience. Examine the evidence for and against your fears. Cultivate self-awareness. Develop a deeper understanding of yourself, your strengths, and your values. This self-awareness will keep you and build confidence where you can stand in your power. And set goals. Define specific goals that align with your values and desires. Break them down into smaller, achievable steps, taking actions towards your goal, and it can help you gain confidence and overcome fear. And we talked about this past Friday, I believe it was. And when you do that, I don't care how small that goal is, celebrate it. Like I said last week, if it's you getting up 5 days in a row fixing your bed, celebrate. If you could get on social media and say, look, I made my bed 5 days straight. Celebrate it. And when I say celebrate it, don't be afraid to share your story to somebody else of you overcoming your fear. Because you just don't know what your story or testimony can do for somebody else. It can inspire and encourage them. Truly, it can inspire and encourage them. So let me say this, because me sharing my story, whether it be through book, through this podcast, or just on social media, I've received emails of people telling me, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for creating a platform that we can see other people share their stories that we can relate to, that allow us to get past a certain blockage that we have. One of the biggest fears with me is to tell my story. But I got past that fear to now allow it to block me. And now I get to do what I love every day. And that's to share my story. And that's to speak and help people, encourage people, inspire people. Help them to remove their blockage. This is what I love to do. Inspiring and encouraging others how they can, do the self-healing themselves. Or better yet, recognize that sometimes they need help. And so they can reach out to someone to help them. So I thank you. I thank you again for sharing this space and this moment with me today. Because we spoke a lot today about courage. from understanding its power to taking actionable steps towards embodying it. And just remember that courageous love is a choice, a practice, and a commitment to yourself. And it's about embracing fear and stepping into your power with an open heart. And you know what, for those that are hungry for more, there are a lot of resources out there. There are book, podcasts, workshops that can support you on your path. And I am grateful for each and every one of you, for your courage, for even just listening to me here on this podcast. And as I mentioned before, I have a whole 30-day self-love, practicing self-love that's right on my YouTube page, Nyomi's World. As well as I have an ebook and a journaling book that you can either, order the hard copy from Amazon, or there is, there's one that you can download. You can go right to my stand store for both the ebook and for the Good Morning, My Sexy People. They both are there for you. But again, I am grateful. I am happy. I am loved. And I ask you all to, don't be afraid. Step into that power. Walk around with your head held high. And just be you. Just be yourself. That authentic being, that unique being that you are. That's it. All right, my sexy people, I thank you again. You have a beautiful week, a beautiful Monday. Stay motivated as always. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Thank you for listening to the Season of Self-Love podcast. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, you can follow us on social media. Just search for the Season of Self-Love on Instagram. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to email us at elevateme9999@gmail.com. And remember, you are worthy of love, growth, and happiness. So keep shining bright. And I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Season of Self-Love. Be good to one another and yourselves. And always keep it sexy. Sending light, love, and prayers.